It's the bye week, and the Florida Gators need to fix their offense. Here's how they can do it.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast and Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Friday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with swampsignal.substack.com. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward Mazda Move and Be Moved. And the Florida Gators offense so far has been absolutely putrid, right? There's no way around it. 55 points in the first game against Long Island. Then you scored 16 against USF. Then you scored 10 against LSU with a 5-interception performance, and then you scored 7 against Miami. And that's obviously, by every stretch of the word, unacceptable, right? When you take out the Long Island game, you've yet to score 17 points in a game. You have lost all 3 of those games, despite getting really good defense. But if your offense doesn't do anything right, then your defense is put in bad spots and points are scored regardless of how good your defense is. But that's the fact of the matter, fact of the situation. The biggest thing to fix this offense is plain and simple, Billy Napier and DJ Lagway. And look, Billy Napier's not giving up play calling duties. I'm not going to ask him to give up play calling duties because I don't like to waste my time. Plain and simple. I don't get it. That's like the one thing that Billy Napier refuses to back off of. For some reason, he cares way more about that than winning. Maybe he's, just like, hey, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to get fired anyway, probably, right? Depending on if you're asking Urban Meyer or not. But it's tough. DJ Lagway has been awful this season and not fully healthy, and that does limit you, right? Like that does limit what DJ Lagway can give you because he's not nearly as mobile as he used to be. Not having a quarterback running game does take away from this offense, but Billy Napier also needs to make things easier for him. Like he just does. We had Brooks Austin here after the USF game, and I think it was the USF game. And Brooks, plain and simple, was like, it's insane that everything is just so long developing. And when your offensive line isn't doing their job, which we'll talk about in the next segment, things get brutal for a quarterback, especially one that can't evade the pocket the same way that he used to, because that's actually been one of the biggest things with this offense that, like, I understand the offensive line has not been good, but one of the bigger differences with this offense so far is not just that the offensive line hasn't been doing their part. It's that DJ Lagway hasn't been doing his part in terms of evading either. And I know that, we can talk about how pressures and those, sure, offensive line stat, sacks are a quarterback stat to an extent. A great example is watch Auburn, Oklahoma last week. 10 sacks for Oklahoma, and a lot of them were just Jackson Arnold holding the ball forever. DJ Lagway he's been pressured 44 times this year. He's been sacked 11 times this year. I think 2 of those were him running out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage, and so losing yardage or sack. 1 or 2 of those were him sprinting directly into the defensive line. Offensive line hasn't been doing their part, neither is DJ Lagway. Like, that's the best way I could put it. And when we talk about pressure to sack ratio, that's been a thing where last year DJ Lagway was really good at that, especially prior to the injury. Last year, the offensive line was still allowing pressure against DJ Lagway, but up until the injury, he was evading it with the best of them. Statistically, he was evading it with the best of them. He was getting pressured, but not sacked at all. I mean, LSU, they pressured him 11 times last year, didn't sack him a single time. Stuff like that. Kentucky pressured him 9 times. 2 sacks. Like, there were points in the season where DJ Lagway was getting pressured, but evading pressures. And that's what made Anthony Richardson's offensive line look so amazing, is that even when they were getting pressure, they weren't getting sacks. That's because that's what quarterbacks do now. Like, that's especially with dual threat quarterbacks, they extend those plays. DJ Lagway has not been able to extend those plays because of his injuries. And because he's been unable to extend those plays, he's been getting sacked more, and that puts you in even more difficult spots, because when you're evading a sack, even if you throw the ball away, you're not putting yourself into a 2nd and 17 situation or 3rd and 16, whatever that may be. And that's stuff that honestly isn't going to get fixed this year. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like, until DJ Lagway gets healthy, that's that. Again, we will talk about the offensive line in the next segment, but I will also say this for the offense. Like, I'm fine with the screens in theory. I know that everybody complains about throwing screens. Look at college football. Watch college. Just this Saturday, there's no Florida Gators game. Watch college football throughout the day, and look at how many offenses are just hammering screens right now. Defenses are taking away the over-top game. They're trying to take away the middle. Corners don't like tackling typically. Look at how many screens are thrown. And they're all more effective than how Florida runs them. Because for Florida, the issue isn't throwing screens, it's that your perimeter blocking sucks. Verno Brown III has been the only receiver that's been productive on screens. Like, I think that the way you got to shape him up is throw the screen to Verno Brown. Have maybe J. Michael Sturdivant, if he's healthy, blocking. Whichever tight end you're going to put out there. Trey Wilson has been awful after the catch this year. He's another receiver or another player on this team that's bulked up and isn't moving the same. Trey Wilson, he looks a little bit more rigid now. He's also an awful blocker. So if you're throwing a screen to a side where he's there, he's not blocking anybody. He stinks at it. And again, I'm not saying that makes you bad that you can't block as a receiver. That keeps you from being elite, but it does also screw up with the game plan of throwing screens. Vernell Brown has been dynamic. Vernell Brown III has been the only dynamic guy you've had. It is what it is. And even without adjusting with the screens, right? You've got to get easier completions for DJ Lagway. We haven't seen Boots slide much this year. And for those of you who need a refresher, Boots slide, tight end on the left side behind, or I guess next to and behind Austin Barber. Fake the handoff to the left. DJ Lagway rolls to his right. Tight end is running behind the line of scrimmage still. DJ Lagway rolling to his right. Dump it off. Get some yards underneath. Boot slide, easy completion. Almost always guaranteed yards. Get you in better situations. Like, that's what football is. It's not only about looking for explosive plays. It's about continuously putting yourself in better situations to find success. Boot slide does that. Running back swings, we saw a bunch of them against LSU. Didn't really see him against Miami. Just let your running back run out, dump it off to him in the flat, pick up yardage. Running back screens. Outside of swing screens. Running back screens, haven't seen. Attack the flats without them being screens. You don't want, like, defenses don't want corners in one-on-one situations with Jaden Ball. They don't. Hell, they don't want them in one-on-one situations with Jacoby Jackson. But this offense is not giving you those opportunities. This offense is giving you one-on-ones in open field tackling drills with a corner and Trey Wilson, who's not nearly as evasive as he's been in the past. That's what they want. What they actually want is DJ Lagway standing in the pocket because they know he's going to make a mistake at some point. But you can also try to help that situation clear up. We'll talk about that when we get back with this episode of Locked On Gators. This episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. And there are moments that do more than put points on the board, right? They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. And I said it yesterday, I'm going to stick with it. For me, it was Cormani. And I wrote about Cormani on Wednesday. That I think when you watch that interception against Kentucky last year, you see the crowd erupts. The team runs into the end zone to celebrate with him in the crowd. Stuff like that is just, it's incredible. It's beyond just football. It's watching someone who had a lot of negative publicity around him and kind of shut it all down in that moment, right? That's what it is. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. And this offensive line is something that I said, we'll talk about. Needs to get better. Just needs to get better. And look, for me, a lot of it comes down to communication. Communication has been awful on this offensive line, which I think for me, that's probably the biggest surprise about this season. I spoke this summer about, DJ Lagway needs to get better. I said it in the winter. I said it in the spring, and I said it in the summer that DJ Lagway needs to get better. And by the way, that was met with a whole bunch of ridicule of saying, oh, that's ridiculous. He was so amazing. He was really good for a freshman. He wasn't really good, period. And you're not playing against freshman teams. You're not playing against other freshmen. You're playing against everybody. He needed to improve. He was injured. It was at least within a logical realm of possibility that he wasn't going to improve. Because the thing was that we've said is that he needs live reps to get better. The offensive line, though, your starting left tackle is back. Your starting left guard is back. Your starting center is back. Your starting right guard is back. And your starting right tackle was here last season. Played right tackle against Tulane. Like, logic tells you that communication shouldn't be the issue. Even if they're just not good enough, communication shouldn't be the issue. And to me, communication has been the biggest issue. Miami was the first game where this offensive line, and as far as pass protection goes, I think run blocking hasn't been great overall, but as far as pass protection goes, Miami was the first game where they just got punched in the mouth and lost. I've been saying this since the LSU game. Watch the LSU game and watch the pressures that LSU gets. And the pressures aren't built off of winning reps. They're really not. The pressures that LSU got, for the most part, were just guys coming in unblocked because they weren't checked by Slaughter and they weren't checked by Lagway. And I fault them both. I don't know who it's technically supposed to take more of the blame there, or if it's 50-50. I've said it before. I feel like the center usually diagnoses the front. The quarterback usually tries to see any tells for off-ball blitzers, but they didn't even bother. The Harold Perkins pressure with, I think it was Jacoby Jackson motioning from out wide into the backfield. Harold Perkins, I said it right after the game. Harold Perkins is just, I said it during the game. I sent it to the subtext program. Harold Perkins is standing in a forward stance, which is usually a decent indicator that he's moving forward. They bring the motion. He doesn't move at all, which for a linebacker should be definitely notable that a guy that he would, in theory, be matched up with was out wide, motions in, and he's not moving at all. Peculiar. Runs in untouched. I mean, stuff like that is just, this is an experienced line. And yet they're doing things like that. Like, there have been a lot of miscommunications on this offensive line. I don't even want to say miscommunication. just lack of communication. Like, it's not like they're communicating the wrong thing. They're just leaving guys unblocked. And there have been miscommunications before. You look at, the LSU game, one of their approaches was, hey, we're going to keep Jaden Ball into pass protect. There were a couple times where that didn't work out. There's at least one that I know of where Jaden Ball went to the wrong side to pass protect. And I forgot if DJ Lagway got sacked or just pressured, but where Jaden Ball went to the wrong side. Things like that happened. And look, I don't expect you to be perfect. Like, those can happen every now and then. But there have been a ton of miscommunications this year between the offensive line, the quarterback, and the running back, and the offensive line, the quarterback, and the tight end so far. And like, it's easy to see, watch the game and obviously it's not usually happening with defensive tackles, not even usually happening with defensive ends. But look at the amount of times someone comes in unblocked. Off-ball rusher just comes in completely untouched. And you can kind of tell who's at fault because they'll look around. Like, they'll look around. They will. There was a play in the LSU game where I think it was when Bryce Lovett was in, because he didn't start that game. That was the first game Caden Jones started. But where Bryce Lovett was in, and there's a play where he should have picked up the off-ball rusher. Instead, he picked up the edge rusher, and the off-ball guy came flying in. And afterwards, I think Damian George was in at right guard in that play. Afterwards, just looks at him, and it's like, who screwed that up? You do, because rules of pass pro there is that you leave the edge guy unblocked, and you pick up the off-ball blitzer. Quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line, right? Off-ball blitzer coming from right behind the D-line. Straight line. Edge, going to loop around. Like, your pass pro will say, pick up the off-ball blitzer, leave the edge rusher, hit your hot receiver, whoever that is. That's the running back, which I think on that play, had Bryce Lovett not picked up the edge rusher, DJ Lagway would have had Jaden Ball on the flat, but since he did pick up the edge rusher, that was in his path, and I don't know if DJ even saw him. But stuff like that happens, and it's like that shouldn't be happening with as veteran an offensive line as this is. Communication needs to be fixed, and that is a thing you could fix during the bye week. I hope during practice they are communicating the hell out of everything, over-communicating, honestly. Say everything and get the play going. I'd also maybe make a change at left guard. Najee Harris had an awful game against Miami, but so did the whole O-line. He's been getting penalties, not enough push. Like, maybe Bryce Lovett's the guy there. Like, we spent all offseason, and my concern with Bryce Lovett compared to Caden Jones was that I don't know if Bryce Lovett has the athletic ability to hang and bang at right tackle long term. I know Caden Jones does, but Bryce Lovett was always, hey, even if he's playing right tackle here, he's long term going to be a guard. Maybe you make that not so long term and you make that more short term and put him at guard. Especially right now, you've got Cam Waits. We don't even know what the injury is, but he hasn't played in, I think, 2 games. Didn't travel with the team to Miami from what was reported. Rod Kearney's been playing awful. Like, the past 2 games, he's been playing awful. Maybe put Bryce Lovett in at left guard. Even if it's not starting, just fine. Just rotationally. Just get something going where you've got some kind of improvement, because your offensive line right now is supposed to be a strength of your team, and it's been pulling you back. Again, like, DJ Lagway is now fully healthy. Offensive line needs to protect him. DJ Lagway is relatively inexperienced. Jake Slaughter should be picking up the slack there. Everyone else should be picking up the slack, communicating. Tight ends should be communicating more. Everybody should be communicating more. But right now, you've got an offensive line that's not working, with a quarterback that's not very mobile right now and is shell-shocked completely. And he's just getting walloped back there. There are improvements to be made, man. And I don't know how to explain this other than, again, I'm not talking about Billy Napier needs to give up play calling duties, because, like, I'm not wasting my time. But there are other things you can do and still fix this team without just, Like, if you're going to be stubborn about that, be stubborn about that. But there are other ways to get better, and there are other ways to improve. And instead, just rolling over and dying, and that's the worst possible thing you can do there. I hate it. We are going to talk about this run game and improving that when we get back with Locked On Gators. It's almost the weekend, so it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. For the Gators, it's Cormani McClain delivering in a big way. You know, last week I mentioned him as the guy because, well, could have rolled over and died. He went and made a tackle, stopped a touchdown. Didn't impact the game really, right? But it's one of those plays where even if it didn't impact the game, it was a hell of a play. Against Miami, got a pick when your offense finally did something. He got a pick and got you the ball right back and kept that momentum going. Offense didn't do anything with it either, but he did his part. So just like Cormani's delivered for the Gators, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, so you stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar, 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Actually, that's a lot. What I love most is having 0 sugar. That's a huge thing for me. Like I'm a caffeine guy. I'm not a sugar in my caffeine guy. So I love that. But also how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot, take it anywhere. And get that boost whenever you need it. Fits in your pocket, fits in your bag, whatever it is. It's beautiful. So enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store or online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's show, we are talking about this run game that has, well, not exactly lived up to what we thought it would be, right? You look at the first drive against USF and it was dominant. You look at the entire game against Long Island and it was dominant. You look at even at times against Miami, that one drive looked great. Against LSU, you had your moments, but again, LSU was sending off ball pressure, so you weren't even really trying to, which I will say this. I don't blame you so much for not trying to run against LSU if your plan is we're going to throw swings instead. Like, yeah, Jaden Ball had like 10 carries, but he also had 7 catches. He still got 17 touches. He still got the ball. So I would say that for the LSU game, I don't care that he got 10 carries. I think that was genuinely them putting him in better position by running the swing screens. And I will say, I'm a firm believer that Jaden Ball needs more carries, right? Like, again, the LSU game, different. They were sending a ton of off-ball pressures to the interior. You don't want to run into that. You're throwing away from it. I get that. But he needs more carries and more touches in general consistently to get into a rhythm. Like you can't go like that USF game. It was 6 carries for 51 yards, if I'm not mistaken, on that first drive alone. Finished with 18 carries for 93 yards, which I know, like, people can look at that and go, okay, well, the offense didn't do anything after that drive, or Jaden Ball didn't do anything after that drive. It's like, yeah, because they came out here throwing the ball, getting cute, and then tried to go back to it. Like you can't do this, oh, hey, here's 6 carries on this one drive, and your next carry, by the way, is going to come in 25 real minutes. Because that's what it is. Like, you can't do that and expect to be successful. And by 25 real minutes, I mean, sure, give him 6 carries on one drive. Great. You punt, you got a commercial break. You come back or score, whatever, you got a commercial break. You come back, offense has their drive. Even if it's a 3-minute drive. They punt, whatever it is, go to commercial break, come back, have your drive where he doesn't get the ball, go to commercial break, come back, their drive, go to commercial break, come back, and then you're back there. And it's like, yeah, it's been 20 freaking minutes. Like there's no rhythm. There's no flow there. You can't do that and expect to be successful. Like I've spoken a lot about going back to even like last year's when I started having the conversation more about this offense being sustainable. And a big part of it was that, I don't think the offense has been sustainable under DJ Lagway. That he's too reliant on the deep ball. And so it's either deep ball or run game works, and that's it. This offense isn't sustainable if you don't let Jaden Ball beat Jaden Ball. It's not. If your passing game's not working and you're not trusting your run game, offense isn't sustainable. And I get having some hesitancy with the run game. I do, because your offensive line's been playing like crap there. So I get having hesitancy there. I really do. But I also feel like for a few seasons now, I've been clamoring for evolution in the run game, right? I feel like for a few seasons now, I've been saying on the interior, run more duo, right? Duo is multiple double teams across the offensive line to the defensive line, create multiple gaps. Running backs can step up, read the Mike linebacker, and then decide which gap they're going to hit. And I've had this conversation before with an NFL running back, because I covered the Giants in person, having an NFL running back, and we talked about duo, and he was like, yeah, I love it because if you're good, you can dictate where that Mike linebacker, it's not you reading the Mike linebacker, it's you essentially, I think the exact word he used was manipulating the linebacker, and then you go where you actually want to go. Like duo on the interior works. You can run it with this offensive system too. Like, and I know people hate the scheme. I don't care to have that conversation. Sean McVay, one of the most wide zone heavy offensive play callers in the NFL, right? He shifted away from that to run duo more than anybody else. You can do it. It's not an impossible thing. You already do it. You just should do it more. Get inside zone out of here. Run the hell out of duo. Pick up yards and kill them. Run more counter. You can do that. You found success doing that. On the outside, run more pin pull. I remember spending the 2023-2024 offseason saying that I wanted to see more pin pull. We saw it one time against Miami in the first game, and it was a 70-something yard touchdown. We saw it throughout the course of the season, and it was still successful. One of the issues right now with this Florida Gators offense is that your guards are slow as hell. Najee Harris, Damian George, even when they're playing well, they're slow. Okay? Them pulling doesn't work anymore. It just, they're too slow to get to the point. When they're the guys blocking on screens, they're almost never where they need to be. But guess what? You can still run pin pull and get out wide because you can have your tackle and your center pull. They're both agile enough to get out there. They can both block in space. Like you can still get outside with pulling players and still make it work. We've seen offenses start to go more wide zone, split zone. Like you can do all that. But just right now, it's like your game's not working. And I think that part of it's because of the calls, but I think part of it's also your guards are pulling you back right now. But you can still work ways around it and still be good. But like you got to give the guys a chance. And this is still a good roster. Spent all offseason saying the coaching needs to catch up to the talent because this is a college football playoff roster. Coaching is holding them back more than ever before. Guys are struggling, of course, but coaching isn't helping them either. You get paid almost $7.5 million to do this. Make the right decisions somewhere. I'm not like, look, I know I want you to give up play calling duties. You're not going to do it. Make the right decisions somewhere. Give the guys a better fighting chance because right now they're floundering and it's your fault. No other way to put it. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free every single podcast and on YouTube. We will be back Monday at the absolute latest. Talk more Florida Gators football for Locked On Gators. I'm Brandon Olsen. Follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my Florida Gators written content at swampsignal.substack.com. And I will see you all next time.